Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to the CA Process Automation Global User Community Webcast. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. I would now like to turn the call over to Mr. Henry Taylor. You may begin your conference.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this presentation. I'm really looking forward to it because I know that Louis Vandenberg, who's going to be presenting for us, has been doing some really exciting stuff with process automation. A couple of points just. If you have any questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A tab in your WebEx center to process the questions. At the end, we will have a question and answer session where you can ask questions via the telephone and we will answer them. This session is being recorded and will be uploaded to the WebEx archive on the community board. And the presentation will also be uploaded as a PDF at the end of that. So having said all of that, I'd like to hand over to Louis Vandenberg now. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. So my name is Louis Vandenberg. I'm the Automation Director here at Nike. And I'm going to take you through a particular process automation project we're currently working on involving an automated ticketing process. I'm going to move to the next slide. In this presentation, we'll show how we plan to use the CA Process Automation product to integrate with the CA Automation Autosys Edition and how we integrate that with ServiceNow. And so we'll go over the following items. I'll cover a background on how the current process works, and then I'll also show you our business case for the project. I think that's probably, for most people, a difficult thing to do, the business case, especially when you want to automate something that's existing and you need some money to get your project going. And then also discussion of the technical solution we have and talking about the scope and the integration points. And then I'll also show you our timelines that we have and the phases of this project. And I did think I'd have a more interactive discussion with the participants on other third-party products like ServiceNow, like Remedy or Quality Center, about how they think that might work. And then at the end, I'll just conclude and leave some time for questions and answers. So the background about our current process is we, at the moment, have a physical monitoring capability with our outsourcing partner, Xerox. And when we have events occur in CA Workload Automation, the Autosys Edition, we expect that Xerox notifies our teams within 15 minutes of that event occurring. At the moment, they are notifying us when there's a failure and when there's a max run alert or alarm. And then we have our frontline support team from Infosys that then do a ticket creation or go through a ticket creation process. And at the moment, we're timing them at about 6 minutes for them to be able to create a ticket in ServiceNow. And there is some, it's slower for them, especially since they're located in India and they work on a Citrix network. There's some time delay. So the total time for us to see a ticket after an event occurred in our workload automation tool is 21 minutes. And the biggest thing for us is that this entire process is manual. So our objective with this project then is to automate this process for the notification of failures and max run alarms, and also to have a single process for the creation of ServiceNow tickets or a quality center defect. Quality center is what we use in our release environment. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about other tools. And so by automating these processes, we expect to reduce the time that it takes to manually do these tasks. And we also expect these folks that we have currently do this work to free them up, and we can use them for other work that we have. And it also reduces risk. You know, maybe tickets are not being created, and also decreases our cost in creating a ticket. So here's where we are, what we would like to do. We would like to have the failure, when it occurs in Autosys, create a ticket in ServiceNow within 6 minutes. That's our goal. That's what we're looking for. At the 6 minutes we believe is conservative, and that's what we're starting out with, just so we don't overpromise and underdeliver. We'd rather be more conservative. Going through our business case, the benefits we're looking to get out of this, apart from the ROI, is we expect zero manual effort during our communication. And let me explain that a little. When a ticket is created in ServiceNow, it automatically already communicates to the group that the ServiceNow ticket is assigned to. So if we were to automate a solution between Workload Automation and ServiceNow, the communication piece would occur as soon as the ticket is created in ServiceNow. So the current communication that happens manually should be eliminated completely, because at the moment we have a person phoning our frontline team or emailing them that there's a failure or a max run alert. And so that manual communication that happens is what we're looking to eliminate also in this process. And we're also expecting not to have any mistakes made during our communication. Today we do experience that there's, especially when it's a busy period of time, failures are skipped or missed, and then there's non-notification of that happening. And then also notifying the correct team is also a struggle, as the production control team needs to look up who needs to be notified, and they sometimes don't look it up, but they just make an assumption that they know who the correct team is, and then they're wrong, and the incorrect team gets notified. And we're also seeing that there's a late notification, especially when it's busy. Things take longer than the 15 minutes that we wanted them to take. And then we're also expecting no manual effort during the ticket creation process. We expect all of that to be automated. We currently have people spending most of their time just creating tickets due to the volume of tickets we do have. And then we also have mistakes being made during our ticket creation. Tickets aren't being created, or they are being assigned to the wrong group, or they are being opened late. Now, the open late is a problem for us. We do want to measure the total or the time to resolution of an incident. And if a ticket is opened late, we are not getting the true time to resolution for that particular issue. We would like to use the ticketing system to tell us how long it takes for true time to resolution. And that would require us to be very fast in our ticketing creation process so that we get the time for the ticket creation as close to the time of the failure or the max run as it occurs in the workload automation tool. And this then talks to point number 5, where we want reliable metrics for measuring our time to resolution. And we're expecting to reduce the resources we have to support the process, and we also expect better service delivery to our customer. So just to elaborate on that, with our ability to then create tickets faster, we'd have our frontline team be able to resolve the incident sooner. And because we have more resources available now that they don't have to create tickets, we'd be able to have more people look at our incidents. So that's why we're looking at the better service delivery to our customers. So on the ROI piece, what we did was we worked on an hour per day ROI. We are not looking at dollars, especially since we have our external partners working with us on this. They are not necessarily a cost, since some of them are fixed fee service providers. So the benefits really is looking at the number of hours a day instead of the dollars a day. But if these were in-source services we had, I think one would be able to do $1 per day ROI, and then be able to give your management a dollar figure for the savings or the return on investment that you'll be able to have. But we are working with an hour a day. So in our production environment, we have we saw 57 hours a day being spent on both the communication piece and the ticketing creation process, just for failures. Our max runs are a little bit of a problem at the moment. We're working on reducing those, and that's just a little high. So that's 125 hours a day. And I think just to be clear, is when we launch this effort, we're also looking at how do we improve our max run alert time settings. So there's a two-part effort here underway. Not only are we looking at improving the process of creating a ticket, but we're also looking at improving the alerting we're getting from our workload environment. I think we are too aggressive on our max run alert timings, so that we get too many alerts. So we're going to be going back to those and looking at better parameters for our max run alerts. To then, in so doing, we reduce that number of hours we spend a day just creating tickets. Now, in our release environment, it's a little bit more hectic, especially when you are doing testing of new code and solutions. So, as expected, we do see more failures in that environment. And so there we saw 126 hours a day being spent on failures. The thing here to remember is that there are many people creating tickets in the release environment, and all of them are doing that manually, and there's a lot of communication around that. So with us automating this process, you know, the 126 hours look high, but those are real numbers. Those are numbers we actually have from the last 2 years. And then we do track max runs in our release environment too for performance testing, and those we had 62 hours a day. So the ROI for us is around about 180 hours in each environment a day for our new solution. Okay, so our design is going to look at this is how we well, we already started with this, and this is how we are doing the triggering between Autosys and ServiceNow. We have Autosys Event Manager that is capturing all the events as they occur in Autosys today. That's in place, and that is what we're using to do our current monitoring. And Event Manager has all these events that's occurring in Autosys, and what we're looking to do is from those events look at failure events and max run alarm events, filtering those into a stream that will kick off a process automation process that will that will have a Java script that looks up to which group does the job belong to that just had that event. So we will need to be able to find the group that own the job, because that group is going to be the assigned to group when the ServiceNow ticket is created. So that lookup is important. And we have that already in place, that information, with a previous Process Automation Manager project we did when we created our job definitions through Process Automation Manager. So all that information is in our database, job definition database already. And so the same console that we're using for our old process is then the source for our information as we send those alerts through to Process Automation Manager to trigger off these process automation processes. So one of the key things that came up when we did our design was we talked about ticket storms, and a ticket storm here for us means when a system goes down, we might see a large number of failures in Autosys. When a system goes down before, Autosys might show the system as machine online or machine offline. And that large amount of alerts is what we call, that would then stream into the ticketing system, would then be called, is what we call a ticket storm. So what we needed to do is find a way to prevent that ticket storm from happening. And that is one of the key requirements of this project. We need to be able to do that. The idea is then to know when a ticket storm is occurring, and when it does, is to create a ticket for that particular platform or system that mass amount of tickets are originating from, and then with that one ticket, then start logging which jobs have failed on that platform. And then I have a diagram that shows that. I'll get that to, oh, here it is, the ticket storm prevention feature. So we need to keep track on the number of failures for each machine as they are, as the workload automation environment is running. And if it exceeds that threshold where we believe a ticket storm is occurring, that's then at that point that we create a single ticket for those failure events, and that all the future failures from that machine is then updated onto that one ticket until that ticket is closed. And then once that ticket is closed, then we proceed with the normal process of opening one ticket for one failure. So this is a picture of what it is with the ticket storm prevention feature, what we're trying to do. So you can see Autosys sending the events to the event manager, and then we are only capturing the failures and max runs from the event manager into Process Automation Manager. And then the first thing we would ask is, do we have an open mass failure ticket for this particular failure on this particular platform? If we do, we know that there's a ticket storm in progress already, and then we would update that mass failure ticket with the job name that had that particular failure. If we don't have an open mass failure ticket, it means that a ticket storm is not in progress for that particular platform. And then we ask the question, have we exceeded the mass failure threshold? Are we seeing a large amount of failures in a certain amount of time? And if we have not exceeded that threshold, it means that the system is running normally, that there is not a mass failure event occurring, and then we can open one ticket for one failure. If we do, however, see that the failure threshold has been exceeded, at that point, we do create that mass failure ticket, and we write to it this job name that exceeded the threshold would be then the first job in the list of jobs that would be on this mass failure ticket that's been created. And so the next time the next failure occurs on that particular platform, it will find that the mass failure ticket is open and will update the mass failure ticket with the job name. And that will continue on until someone closes that mass failure ticket. Once they have resolved the issue and the mass failure ticket is closed, at that point when the next failure occurs, it would find that there isn't an open mass failure ticket that exists. We also need to reset then the threshold or that counter that measures our threshold. We would also have to reset that once the ticket is closed. So that's a ticketing storm or ticket storm prevention feature that we have to have in our solution. Here are our timelines for our project. So at the moment, we're busy with the QA POC, and then we would be moving. What we are going to do first is we're going to do production failures first, because we see the ROI in that space as the most important one to go after. And then we'll be doing our QA or release environment, and then we'll be doing our max runs. Now the same concepts hold true for max runs that hold true for failures, and we'll be looking at the same kind of ticketing storm prevention features in the max run solutions like we do in failures. We're also expecting to be able to copy and paste from our production failure solutions to the max run solutions. So we're hoping to be able to leverage what we have already for those solutions. And just a little bit of to talk about our integration with other products. So for our release environment, we have Quality Center. And if you go back to our QA solution, I think one would have maybe spent less time on building the QA solutions in this timeline if QA was also on ServiceNow. But since QA is on HP Quality Center, we are going to have to spend some time working on integrating with Quality Center. So our release environment is Quality Center, but we also have our Xerox partner on Remedy. Now, at the moment, we don't expect to do anything with Remedy, but I do think the solution that we have here, if your company had a ticketing system like Remedy, I think the same integration could be done. There probably are more ticketing systems out there that I haven't thought of, and I was hoping that someone can maybe speak to some of those. But at the moment, those are the two other ticketing systems in our landscape that we have, and we are going to integrate with Quality Center, but we have a Remedy too. So that's what we'll be looking at for there. Okay, so our plan is to connect our automated processes with our self-service request process we already have with Process Automation Manager. Now, let me explain this a little bit better. Some of you may know that CA has a Power Pack for workload automation where you can do self-service or on-demand execution of jobs. What we plan to do is once we have this the solution with the ticketing system in place, we do expect our frontline team to want to, when they encounter a failed job and they have found out what the root cause was, they have fixed it, and now they want to rerun the job. We would like to integrate this, the ticket then, with our PAM process we have that allows them to request a job to be rerun. And so from the ticket then, we would be able to go through our current on-demand request process in PAM and request a job to be run, to be set to success, to be iced, whatever they need to do with that particular job, we would then be able to do from the ticket and go through the Power Pack that allows you to do the on-demand request. So tying into that existing PAM process, so connecting these two PAM processes with each other. And then the other integration we're planning to do once we have this in place is we have a PAM process that allows our customers to change their job definitions. And all that information is stored in our job definition database, which is not in Autosys. It's a database outside of Autosys that keeps track of who's requesting changes, who's approving changes, who are making the changes. And in that database for each job is also information about who the job is assigned to. You might have made the connection that this is the same database I talked about earlier, that where we would find what group owns a particular job. So in this database, we would be able to also have instructions on what we should do when this job fails. And so the plan is then to, when a job fails, be able to refer to this database, read the instructions on restart instructions in that database, and be able to execute those before the ticket's created. So this gets us to runbook automation. So we should be able to do some automated runbook automation, and only then, when there's still a failure, do we proceed then to a ticket creation. We would have to keep track of those two as one of the metrics, but that's the plan, is to connect the PAM process that does the ticket creation to the PAM process that contains our job definition information and create a new PAM process that is able to do the runbook automation. So that's the future plans we have with PAM and in this space. I guess that is it. The next piece I have is any questions you might have.
At this time, if you would like to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 for a question. Your first question comes from the line of Tony Anderson.
Hi, I'd just like to thank you for your presentation. Are you using the current connectors for that was offered in process automation with your solutions, or did you make them homegrown?
So for the event manager, there's 2 connectors, or would have been 2. For the event manager, we have our own. We are reusing or repurposing the code we had in our existing monitoring solution to trigger Process Automation Manager. As far as the other connector, we are using the ServiceNow connector for ServiceNow. Now, it's not. I don't think it's the out-of-the-box service connector, but that's the connector we're using for. We might have tweaked it by now a little for ServiceNow. So that's the 2 connectors we have.
Okay, and what's your version of workload automation of the Autosys are you guys using?
We're actually right in you're catching us right in the middle of an upgrade here. We have, I should say we are on 11.3. We have one environment still that's on 11.0.
Oh,
but
okay.
Our release environment, the environment we're currently in, is 11.3. That's where we're building our solution.
Okay. So we have Autosys 11.3, and we use CA Service Desk, so we're trying to do some similar things there.
All right, great.
So I appreciate that for all the information you had. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Louis, I had some private questions. What release of PAM are you using with the Power Pack?
We are, so again, and when we are with our development at the moment, we are in PAM 4.1, even though we have PAM 3.1 in production. But we are planning an upgrade before we go live.
And I have another question, how to eliminate the ticket storm prevention?
How to prevent a ticket storm prevention.
Or how to eliminate. I don't understand.
So I'll go back here. So we deliberately put the ticket storm prevention feature into our process. We want to eliminate the ticket storms, and we have a counter that says if there are more than I think it's a low at the moment, more than 15 failures in a 2 or 3 minute period, we will open a mass failure ticket if that threshold is exceeded. When 3 minutes go by, every minute we reduce the number of failures with the previous, not the previous minute, but the count that was there, let's say 3 minutes ago. So we are continuously adjusting the the counter for how many failures there are. And, you know, comparing that number against the threshold.
There's a question in the Q&A as well, Louis.
I see that, yes. So the first one I have here from John Alexander is asked what RDBM is being used for the job definition database. I assume that you mean the relational database managed database that is being used. We are using an MS SQL database for our job definitions. It is integrated with Autosys through our PAM process as a change is requested from the customer and it's approved. The change is automatically being made in the Autosys database via the JIL connector that comes as PAM, and we are able to update the job definition with that information. Hope that answers the question. I have another question here from Rahul Adukar. He is asking the question of a version of PAM that's being used. Like I said, it was 4.1. Any RESTful services used for integration with ServiceNow? Yeah, I think for us the driver is Autosys. So we have more a push feature into ServiceNow, and we call the ServiceNow connector when we need it to. It's not as if ServiceNow is in a RESTful state. Well, I guess you could say it is. It's not as if it is listening to PAM. The information is being pushed to ServiceNow when the PAM process needs it. Oh, now he's asking me that other question he had was any specific connectors used. We've gone over that. So we use the ServiceNow connector and a custom event manager connector. And he would like me to elaborate on the Java and IT PAM usage. So it might be a little bit more technical than I can give you, but the Java piece is where we are looking up the owner group in our job definition database to see who owns the job that we will assign the ticket to when we create the ticket in ServiceNow. So that's the Java piece. There is also the listening of for the failures and max runs out of the event manager that we're listening to that's triggering the process automation piece. At the moment, all those things are not challenges, because the question here is, are any challenges faced? Since we have the process in already, our monitoring process, that you know, it's an existing code base, so it's not we're not creating something new there. The lookup is something that is extra, but it is. We were doing a lookup before just for a very particular user group or a owner group. Now we're doing a large set of groups, so it's just an elaboration of what we've had before. I don't see any other questions. Okay. Henry, Rahul Adokar elaborated more on his question. He was curious if the Java to PAM interaction was done via command line or via web services. The piece at the moment is command line based. but we are, I have to say that we do try to use web services as much as we can. I can see us moving to a more web services-based solution in the future, or going back to this particular code and doing more web services. But for now, we're reusing what we've had, and that's a command line solution. Okay. Henry, did you quickly want to talk about what you are doing in your space in this area?
Well, I was just going to, firstly, I'll just mention some of the other sort of ticketing systems. There is integration built into PAM for the CA Service Desk ticketing solution, and a lot of the others have web services that you can utilize. So I'm doing some stuff like that to IBM and etc. Chatting with Mary earlier, I'm busy with quite an interesting project, so I think what we'll do is we'll set that up as the next webcast, where I'm currently doing a two-way ticket exchange between CA Service Desk and IBM, because the clients outsource part of their IT operations to IBM, and the two-way ticket exchange is built in PAM, and it does things like store and forward. So if any component is down, it'll store the stuff and reprocess it. What else? There's a whole bunch of sort of features, and it's built in such a way as well that it's all data-driven. So at the moment, the main ticket exchange is with IBM, but it's designed in such a way that just by adding some configuration files in that to the system, it'll then automatically be able to talk to another vendor like AT&T or someone else. So in that case, we have one sort of gateway, as we call it, and it can handle multiple vendors or suppliers. So it's just it's partly a methodology as opposed to just purely actual unique PAM stuff. It's just really thinking about the methodology when you're designing the whole system. So I think we'll set that up as our next session, because it'll be quite interesting, I think. Any other questions from anyone? And the other thing is, if you have any requests for any particular topics that you'd like us to discuss on these webcasts, please email myself, Louis, any of the other board members, Mary as well, but possibly as a last resort. I think Mary works harder than the rest of us. So you can email us, and we can have a look and see if we can find someone to be able to discuss any particular topics that you might be interested in. And if I can also please ask everyone to fill in the poll that's been put out.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Louis, for a great webcast today. I think that closes it out.
Thanks, Mary.
This does conclude today's teleconference. You may now disconnect.